This ad account has spent 500,000 euros in the last 30 days. You can see it right here. Here's the total spent across the ad account. That is real spend. I really don't know anything about this brand because it's in French and I don't know anything about French, but this is 100% manual bids, cost caps and tROAS, a tiny bit of bid caps mixed in. I'm going to show you something in this account because the operator of this brand asked me to take a look, said they would share it publicly, which is just incredibly cool, like incredibly gracious of them to do that. And if really, if you want to see what an account that's growing and spending entirely on manual bids is, this is a really good picture of that. There's a lot you could say about this, but what I like to start with is go back to October, because get out of the holiday months, and you see this brand is spending 200,000 in October. The CBO campaign is all cost capped, so you can see cost per result goal right here, the bid strategy, and so that's the bulk of the spend. And then over time, slowly but surely, as they've added more creative and really not changed the target cost cap much over that entire time, you go from 196,000 in October. In November, you go to 279, so a lot of growth there, including a BFCM campaign. This campaign is going to stay with us as we kind of orient ourselves to the account, because they're just going to use that for their promotional campaign going forward, and they just don't change the name. December, 273. Then you go to January, picks up a little bit more after that, right? 335. They had some ups and downs over that month, but ultimately getting there. Same setup. You see they've got some promotions still running here in that BFCM campaign. February, which of course only has 28 days, goes up again, 360,000, so 3 less days, but another 10% in spend increase, which is really great to see. And what they've added here now is a ROAS campaign, which is really interesting. So they're running tROAS right here, so a ROAS goal campaign. So that comes alongside of things. In March, the ROAS campaign is still there, and now they've gone to 394. And then this month in April, as I record this, they're all the way up to 508. And what you can see is the ROAS campaign has now been changed to an ASC campaign, but very similar kind of approach overall. So 508,000, so that's really cool to see. They're growing in spend, adding a bunch of creative, and certainly one of the things you will see here, if you look at this, is that a bunch of stuff here is spending a lot of money, okay? So if we go to amount spent, you go to 186 across this, but what you see is that like my amount spent is not sorting correctly, by the way. This is like a weird bug right now, but you can see these top spending campaigns, nothing spending more than 20 grand. Let's see, are any of these spending more? Is there something that is sneaking in here? Yeah, there's 1,800. Yeah, so you can see like 20k euros is the most it's spending. So they've got launched tons of creative across all these ad sets, and a lot of it is spending, and they're just doing this sort of classic way that I would recommend basically anybody do this, which is they're just launching ads into the ad sets. They're leaving them for a long time. They have a low AOV, and so they're getting a lot of purchases per category, which means all of these are out of learning, which is really awesome. You don't get until your lower spends where things are still in learning. So that's really good. And just a really, really well run account. Now it's interesting when you look at this, because there's a couple things going on. The first thing is it's 100% cost caps, and you'll see, or not 100%, but a lot of cost caps, and you'll see a $49 cost control, or excuse me, 49 euro cost control here. Okay. You look at that and you go, there's one problem right away. Right now, I'm going to get outside of the range of the last 7 days or so because of the way attribution works. And you'll see it's all 7-day clicks. Let's check the attribution setting. Okay, 7-day click, pretty much across the board. Actually, top spenders are also including view conversions, which I would clean that up, get rid of those view conversions, and get back to 7-day click only. But either way, what you see is like the actual CAC over that time in platform is let's see, where is it? Oh, here we go. Sorry, cost per purchase. Holy cow, Andrew, get your brain together. You can see it's 71 euros. So that looks like a problem, right? Because you're running this cost control of 49 euros, but you're actually getting 71. If you go to the last month instead, what you'll see is that's a little closer at 62. And so this is one of people's big complaints about cost controls. It's like you don't get performance that is actually at the number that you are suggesting. Now, one of the things I want to say right away here is that that's not totally shocking to me. When I run cost caps, which is extremely rare, I run almost no cost caps, you regularly see this because cost caps are actually allowed to bid above and below the target dynamically according to whatever the machine thinks is best. And so sort of built into the tool is the idea that it can actually go and find the ceiling of bids. And sometimes that means it doesn't actually hit your target. Now, at the baseline level, that's okay, as long as you adjust your cost cap to get the actual target you're getting. So in this case, running on mostly 7-day click, okay, 62 euros is what the number is that they're actually getting. If that's an acceptable CAC for this brand, then their 49 euro cost cap is perfectly fine. And what the thing I will always tell people is, let's say you're actually getting, let's say you wanted that 60 to be to actually be 49. There's a simple solution to this, which is that you just lower the cost cap. Okay. And so you lower it towards getting roughly what the actual outcome that you want is. If you are an executive or an operator of an e-commerce business that's running 7, 8, or 9 figures and you like this video, I can just about guarantee you will get benefit from joining Workspace 6. Workspace 6 is a closed private community for 7, 8, and 9 figure executives and operators of e-commerce businesses. There are no software providers, no service providers like me allowed in the community. So let's say you were working with me and you thought I was doing a terrible job. You could tell other people in that community, don't work with Andrew Ferris. He's terrible. Multiple of my clients are in Workspace 6, and so I know it's a good community. I know it's valuable. It's also really affordable. $1 for your first month and $99 after that with no commitment. You can get real answers to your questions in real time from other operators like you who are going to help you out. I love the Workspace 6 guys. They've been super helpful to me. I've been reading their newsletter forever. Workspace6.io. Go check it out. There's actually another solution that I like more in this case, and that solution is to run bid caps, because bid caps cannot bid dynamically above the CAC target, and they are much more likely to get you closer to your actual target with less volatility. So if the volatility bothers you and you're running cost caps, switch to bid caps. You tend to get more of a solution. The same dynamics at play here on these tROAS campaigns, okay? Now, I've spoken to this person, and they've said they're really happy with the overall structure and with the overall outcome, so I assume that the number they're getting is a number they're actually fine with, even if it's not exactly what they're inputting, right? So in this case, they're saying they want a 0.85 on 7-day click. They're actually getting a 0.67 over this time period, again, eliminating the most recent week so that you sort of eliminate the incomplete attribution windows from that. So they seem to be fine with that. Not surprisingly, slightly higher AOV on their tROAS targets. This looks pretty good to me. I would say, again, if they wanted this 0.67 to become a 0.75, raise that 0.85 to a 0.9 and keep moving. There is no bid cap version of tROAS targets. There is only averages that can bid dynamically. No threshold, like a bid cap is a threshold, but a cost cap is an average. And there's no equivalent of that when you're bidding highest value, which is what tROAS campaigns do, right? tROAS campaigns are going to bid for the highest value customer. Cost cap and bid cap campaigns are going to bid for the lowest cost customer. And that's a really important distinction for a lot of reasons. So, but there is no highest value equivalent of a bid cap, which is going to have that threshold. So you just kind of have to deal with that. And I think one of the things you see in this account very clearly is that adding tROAS campaigns was definitely additive to the overall spend. It's one of the reasons I tell everybody to do it, is because you get a lot more spend when you do that. And this is what we do for our campaigns. If they're for our clients, if performance is not quite exactly where we want it, if the performance is actually under the target that we want, we just raise the target and until the performance comes through. Sometimes that stabilizes over more time and with more bidding, and when you've got more stuff out of learning, etc. He's got it as a ASC, and I think that's a perfectly fine way to do it as well. But what you can see, right, 394 before the tROAS bidding, way back in January, like we saw, it was closer to 330. There's no ROAS bidding in there, I don't think yet. Oh yeah, it just started back then, so you got 22K, and it really seemed to add meaningful amounts of spend at a total performance. In this case, you're at a 0.86 ROAS over that time. Maybe what we want to do is look at the attribution windows and say, let's look at the 28-day click version of this so that we can sort of normalize things. 0.94 over that time. I think that probably came down some. It's been a very volatile time economically, so not real surprising. 0.81 there, up to 360. Let's check again in March. 0.86. So yeah, right back up while spend increased. And then more recently in April, and he mentioned this actually, that April has been a little bit more challenging. They're back down to 0.74, but you can see the range is not too wide, and you can make some adjustments in the account to ask for more, to try to get Meta to give you more volume, more efficiency as you see fit. That's the way I would run this account. One other thing I want to point out in this account that's really interesting, and this is something that also they had pointed out to me. Okay, so I'm back in that cost cap campaign. I went and found it and paused the video for a second so you didn't have to watch me go find it. And you can see there's this one ad set that really has performed poorly. So 5,000 in spend, 750 euros in return. That's way, way, way below target. And so one of the questions is, what do you do about that? Do you let that run or not? I'm a big proponent of generally never turning off an ad. And my answer to this question is I would probably let this run, but I understand if you don't. And I think that's fine. If you don't think this is going to be a mega smash hit ad and there's some risk that something is wrong here, it's just not working, this is not a big deal. I would I would be fine turning it off. Again, I think ultimately if you let it go for longer, that'd be fine. Another thing you could try and do is like isolate it to its own campaign and drop the budget, so you sort of force it to spend at a lower budget. That's sometimes something I've done as well. So I can kind of go either way here. This is pretty far off the performance mark that you want. If you're asking for, you know, a CAC of 49 euros and you're getting 296, that's beyond small sample size noise. Something looks like it's like messed up there. I don't mind the idea of spending it because that is such a big I don't mind the idea of cutting that there. It's such a big thing. Overall, it's an extreme outlier in this ad account. And so if you want to eliminate a little bit of risk by doing that, that's just fine. You do have a couple other ad sets here I noticed that are doing some similar things. If you go look by amount spent again, you'll see there's a couple that are like performing pretty meaningfully worse than others. Like here's this one. Actually, if you look at by CPM, you'll see, I just noticed this a second ago actually. Maybe it's even just the last 7 days. Let's see. I just found this recently, last 7 days. You've got a couple of ad sets that are doing something kind of weird where you've got like this one and let's see if I can find the other one. This one down here. Whoops, move me out of the way. You can see it. This is something I sometimes look for when something is being weird. You can see that not only is the performance way, way below target, the CPM is way different. So 31 euros and 42 euros versus an account-wide 10 euros. I have seen that happen occasionally. In this case, it looks like it's delivering to somebody so completely different than the rest of your account that if you see that and the performance is poor, I don't mind the idea of shutting those off as well and saying like, there's something weird going on here, that's fine. Again, extreme outlier. In my accounts, I've basically had to turn off ads for that reason a couple times ever, but it does happen. And so I don't mind the idea of doing that. None of these systems are perfect, right? They're probabilistic machines. And sometimes, you know, they're not created by God, right? There's challenges at times. So yeah, I don't have any problem with the idea of turning that off. What I really want to avoid all the time is actually turning off individual ads that are really high spenders. If you're turning off lots and lots of ads in an ad account because you think, oh, high spender, not hitting my target, like that's where I think you get into trouble. If you're doing that constantly, then something is probably wrong. Overall, this account setup I think is really great. You've got a promotional campaign set up. You've got ASC and CBO as your main tROAS and cost cap campaigns. You're spending the bulk of the money there. You can see a little bit of the scale campaign. This is just where they're moving some winners into less ad sets, getting them out of learning, trying to get some more consistent delivery. And then still this old bid cap campaign just kind of sitting along. I would probably move towards bid cap and tROAS for all the reasons I've said before, but that's actually a huge job at this point. And if you're getting a total volume and a total outcome you like, I really like it. You see the account is growing. You see a lot of things happening in the last 7 days. They've spent even above their previous pace, right at 146 K euros, like that's, you know, pushing towards a 600K euros per month pace. I think that's really strong, and there's some volatility as they're trying to scale, etc. One question that the operator did ask me was, how do you scale this account more? And my answer to that question is, yeah, it's all the normal things. And this is the beauty of a setup like this. You don't go scaling this account by trying to go and find some new media buying thing that's going to do it. This is the media buying setup account with which you scale. You don't need to test audiences. You don't need to try some crazy stuff. You just keep adding creative into this account. And then you think about product launches. You think about funnels, offers, you think about promotions, those kinds of things, all the hard work of being a brand. That's how you pursue scaling it. Tightening up your COGS, right? One way you could scale it is if you could spend more to acquire customers because your cost of delivery gets cheaper. Like that's all the stuff that you keep doing. Keep adding creative, etc., and all that normal stuff. But the account now is not at a spot where I think it needs major overhauls. Leave this, keep adding creative, see what happens, and see if you can get it to keep scaling. Really, really well run account, I think. I'm not privy to all the details of exactly how much they can pay to acquire a customer and how all the math nets out, and that's not what I'm really interested in this case. What I'm interested in instead is the combination of highest volume and highest value bids in the form of cost caps and tROAS targets and tROAS ads. You run them both side by side. You see how things go, add a bunch of creative, run it all in manual bids. It's a pretty simple setup, and then you launch and see what you can make happen. Really, really good job.